On this episode of the Dudes and Dads podcast, we are talking with Taylor Brown, a public speaker who travels the country and has made specific choices to keep his family first.
You're listening to the Dudes and Dads podcast, a show dedicated to helping men be better dudes and dads by building community through meaningful conversation and storytelling. And now, here are your hosts, Joel DeMott and Andy Lehman.
Well, here we are, Andy. Tonight's episode dedicated to all of those that are in the midst of this pandemic, a global pandemic. We can't, we're not doctors. We don't have any sort of official medical degrees, but I'm just going to say that we are a minor and temporary cure for whatever is ailing you. Hey, welcome to the Dudes and Dads podcast, guys. So glad to have each and every one of you joining us today. And very, very excited about our guest, Taylor Brown, coming up here in just a second. But before that, Andy.
What's brewing? What's brewing?
Well, Joel, I'm going to say that you introduced me to a whole new way to brew coffee tonight.
Oh, we introduced you to the AeroPress. Fellow coffee snobs, you know what I'm talking about when I say the AeroPress brings a new level of DIY, and yet it's a DIY. It's a sophisticated DIY approach, is what I would say. They claim it takes it's like 1/5. It takes all the bitterness out. It really smoothens up smoothens. I don't know. It makes for a smooth cup of coffee. Anyway, and so we're just enjoying some Refinery House Blend, local roaster here in town. And it's just an all around good cup of coffee. So we're enjoying it. Besides that, Andy, though, let's just remember you recently returned from
Florida.
How was that?
Nice and sunny.
Andy came back with a little bit of a sunburn.
Yeah, I did.
You got some sun.
I did. I got a lot of sun. It was nice. The time away with my wife was beautiful, though.
That's great.
Just the two of us. We hadn't gone on vacation, just the two of us in a long time. So it was well worth it, and I felt recharged and ready to hang out with my kids again.
That's beautiful. And the coronavirus almost ruined your trip.
Oh boy, yeah. I was supposed to go for a conference for work, and that got canceled. But Julie and I said, "Hey, we're going to continue to go anyways," and we did. You
hammered down. You overcame many obstacles.
Absolutely.
And so we're so glad to have you back. But we're glad that you got that time away. I myself have just been soaking in the lack of sun here in northern Indiana while you were away, and let me tell you, Andy, it's as terrible as it sounds. So, March is a difficult one. But guys, thanks again to everybody that's joining us. We want to say thanks again to our supporters, all those good Patreon people. You guys are the best. We're grateful for your support, and we're just keeping on rocking these shows. The guests are as good as ever, and definitely this evening, no exception. So without further ado, hey guys, we want to just say a big welcome to our good friend Taylor Brown. Before Taylor really dives into the beautiful thing that is his story and really who he is, because Taylor is a newfound friend of mine. Well, and Andy's too.
Yeah, absolutely. We met him just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I met him just a few weeks
month ago.
Time is flying by. But Taylor Brown, he's a speaker and writer specializing in creatively, and I would emphasize the word creatively, communicating the gospel to audiences of all ages. He has served as a youth pastor and preacher in the fine state, in the volunteer state of Tennessee, before serving 8 years as the director of programming for Christ in Youth, or CIY, as some of you may know it, as their junior high mix, was their programming director of programming for Christ in Youth Junior High Mix Conference. He is currently a contributing writer for CIY's Worker Films, which he tells me are kind of these global films about major social issue awareness and things. I'm fascinated. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about them, but I'm going to check them out for sure. And he also does, check this out, Andy, he does corporate trainings with the use of improv. He's in the Siblings improv group. Man, he's a
We'll
real, he's
get
a
into
real
it.
Renaissance man, is what he is.
All
He's
right,
a real
welcome-
Renaissance man.
Welcome to the show,
Taylor.
Taylor.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
We're doing good. What we haven't disclosed is that Taylor is coming to us live. You're looking at the kitchen? Are you in the kitchen there?
I'm right here in the kitchen table.
Taylor, is that a Cuisinart coffee grinder behind you?
Yeah.
Do you see how
It is.
Do you see how I saw that? Like
That's eagle eye, man.
it's the
That is
same
eagle
one
eye.
I have. That's why I'm like, this man knows. He's got his own coffee.
knows.
Wow.
He knows what's up. Yeah.
You know your coffee, so I feel like I bought like the band's T-shirt that I only know their hits. You know, I'm not. Blue.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, as we said, we met Taylor yet again, another Bear Lake Bible Camp connection. Taylor was the speaker for our middle school winter retreat, and I've already told this to him to his face, but he did a fantastic job. And the fact that he engaged a group of middle school students,
It was just amazing.
oh my gosh, I don't want to say Pied Piper has some unfortunate context to it, but they were following him. It's wherever,
Oh man,
whatever
that
he
is-
was doing.
that is a dangerous analogy.
It comes out of my mouth, and I'm like, I just feel like there's something wrong with this. But you know what?
We'll go with it.
We'll go with it. So, Taylor, there's a few things we want to get to tonight. What just several in our conversation that really impressed me with, some pretty serious life events that have unfolded in the last, not too long, some big life decisions that you've
Right.
made. So we definitely want to touch on that, but we just want to kind of hear your story. How did you get to this day?
Wait,
What?
Start with the dad's.
The dance?
Dad's
Oh,
dads.
thank you.
Tell us your
Yeah.
wife, how many kids you've got, what that looks like.
Yeah. So yeah, all that good stuff, and then we'll get into your deep dark secrets.
Okay. So dad's is just the
Your wife, your
kid.
kids, how long you've been married, all that. And
Yeah.
any gushy details you want to offer up to about how wonderful your wife is, or anything like that. Just whatever. It's your chance to play in a big sandbox.
I'm happy to do that. I like to find all the edges of the sandbox first. So yeah, been married since 2013. We have two little girls, 3.5-year-old Gwendolyn, and about to be 7-month-old Amaya, which means I don't sleep, just ever. I never sleep. And my wife is Shaylee. She's a realtor here in the Southwest Missouri area. And gushy details, I'll tell you this. What I told her dad when I asked if I could marry her, I said, the most attractive thing about her is her confidence, and you gave her that. So can I please thank you for that, and can I marry her?
Well done. Well done.
Yes. And then now, there are a lot of attractive things about her, I should say. But
Yes.
the confidence is at the top of the list. I love her to death.
That's awesome.
And
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. So
it's good living.
yeah. So yeah, Taylor. You are in Joplin, good old Joplin, Missouri.
Joplin, Missouri. That's it.
Yeah, which we're already trying to figure out how we can rendezvous with Taylor this summer. So we're gonna make.
Come on.
I've never been to Missouri, Taylor. So
What?
It's the Showing
Really?
State, is it not?
It's like, it is, and it's like the only way to get anywhere else. It's like you have, and that's basically what Missouri is. It's like what you go through as you go somewhere else.
Indiana is literally called the Crossroads of America, so we share that phenomenon.
That's true. We have the gateway. Then.
Yeah,
We have the gateway.
Yeah, it's like they're like, oh, Gateway's already taken. We'll be the Crossroads. That'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
We're just the gate you walk through to get to, I guess, Kansas? But I don't know.
That seems deceiving.
That does.
So Taylor, tell man, life growing up, just kind of your story of life. Yeah, how did you become you?
Sure. So Todd Brown fell deeply in love with Karen Brown. And when a man loves a woman,
Very much.
yes, a Taylor is born. And I was born in '84. It was a good year, right, Joel?
Amen. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so grew up in a preacher's home. My dad, actually, I'm third generation preacher. My grandfather was a preacher. My dad was a preacher. And now I preach. So I grew up a preacher's kid, which if you know anything about preacher kids, we are the ones to look out for. And I was. I really love Jesus. I always have, always wanted to, but also just wanted to burn some stuff down. And so I had this dual personality growing up of like, yeah, I want to be like my dad and love Jesus and love people, but I also want to get in some trouble. And that followed me for a while. Went to Bible college and got to know Jesus even more there. Saw some other people who really loved him. Got into ministry, youth ministry, and then was a teacher at a church plant. Wasn't the teacher. I was on the teaching team at a church plant in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then my story takes a hard left turn. That desire to always burn something down started to grow over the desire to be like Jesus. And I went through my mid-20s really marked by like rebellion and foolishness and chaos, and just I was testing the limits. And I won't give you all the boring details, but unless you want to. But Jesus wrecked me, and I finally got to where I said, Jesus, I don't even know what I want in life. I'll do what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And long story short, ended up in Joplin, Missouri, programming a junior high event. Met my wife, have lovely daughters, and it's because Jesus pretty much squeezed the life out of me until I said mercy.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, that's the long and short of it right there.
Yeah. So, and I always, I'm always intrigued by, I mean, yeah, the whole preacher's kid stigma. Believe me, I mean, I know maybe my boys now is there, my two eldest are 9 and 10, and I'm now thinking of like, oh, pastor's kids. This is new.
Yeah, you got them.
Yeah, territory, and how, and Taylor, you'll appreciate this. Bob Tissett, who up until a couple years ago was the CEO at Bear Lake, served in that role for 29 years. One thing he served as my spiritual director for quite some time, good friend. And one thing he told me, and he had a community of people praying for his kids, and he said, "Here's one prayer I just want you to pray, that they would never become embittered toward the ministry." And I think that's become. What do you think? Like, what do you think about that? Like in your own experience, how? What does that mean for you?
Lyric restrictions.
Sorry, Alexa is talking to me in my kitchen. It's good. She's going to say it one more time. I've set a reminder. What is it telling me to do? Here's my reminder.
Lyric restrictions.
Oh yeah, I got to email somebody. So anyway, sorry, I set a daily reminder for myself. So man, that speaks to my soul. My dad went through a church split as an elder of a church. I know people who went from like being the biggest fans of my dad to getting in his face and yelling at him and telling him he should be fired. When I was 17, I got in my little Isuzu Pup 83 green truck and drove to my mentor's house, Gary, and put my feet in his pool and said, man, I just don't know about all this church stuff. People are so mean to my dad, and I want to protect my dad. And I'm so mad at everybody because of the way they treat my dad. What I didn't realize is that I was cool with the one relationship that mattered, that I was still supporting my dad, right? And I think what saved me was I saw my dad love people unconditionally, even though it was hard, but also he did it in an authentic way. He wasn't like fake about it. He talked about how it was difficult. He acknowledged that it was difficult, but I saw him lean in and just love him anyway. And so that inspired me. And then I saw my dad be real. Like when my dad preached, it was the same guy that was at home with me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yep.
that was the biggest deal, right? So like the church is full of jerks, right? But and I'm one of them.
Yes.
But
100%. We're all guilty.
we gotta know that. Like if we're surprised by that, then we need to mature.
Yeah.
The church is full of jerks, but my dad showed me that is the ministry. The ministry is loving jerks. That's Jesus was nailed on a cross and said, "Father, forgive them." Right. So man, we're off to the races. I like this, guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it is all about the relationship they have with you, man. And now talk to me in 18 years, and I'll let you know how my daughters are doing.
100%. Well, I want. And Andy, Andy's kid. Andy's a middle school leader. Andy's kids are in church stuff all the time. They're they're around church people all the time. And I'm just always thinking, like, man, I really, really hope that what's being planted in them is a sense of, man, this is a community of people that are full of grace and truth, and that they see that, doggone it, that Christians are in some way different from the way the rest of the world interacts with each other.
Nailed it there, Taylor, when you said, you saw your dad be the same at home at church, and I think that's an important thing too. So the people that are, he's not any different, and I think that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had his weaknesses that the church knew about, and I knew about, and he had his strengths that both knew about as well. So yeah.
Is Dad still around? Are they near? Are they
still in ministry? Still doing the thing and going through a building campaign and still shaking it up. He's a different breed. Now let me talk about the flip side of my dad. It comes naturally to him. His temperament is to have someone yell in his face and just be calm about it.
Ooh.
Let me talk about the struggle of that. Being his son, which he did not put this on me. He's very accepting of me and my temperament and my personality, but I don't have that temperament. I had a temper growing up, and I have it now, and the Holy Spirit is doing work in me about my temper. So the other thing about being a preacher's kid is thinking I'm supposed to be like him as a preacher, and I'm not. I'm supposed to be Taylor as a preacher.
Amen.
And that's been a big struggle in my life, is realizing like, oh, I don't have that temperament. I'm going to have to struggle, and my daughters are going to have to see me be real in a totally different way than I saw him be real. So there's the other side of it, right? Is being inspired by him, but also realizing like, oh, I got to still find my own way.
Right.
There's no shortcuts here.
Yeah, zero shortcuts and zero manuals as well. And I really identify that with that, like as Taylor, with you and I, our lives kind of intersect in what we do in certain ways, and I just know, my father spent, and rightfully so, my father spent a long time trying to talk me out of going into ministry, but once it went, and it was not in a negative way, it was just like, if you can do anything else, do it, right? 110%. If you can do anything else, do it. But then I will always remember the great conversation I had with him. I was really, really struggling with call, and he just said, you put your hand to the plow and you do not look back. So this is your thing. Get after it. And that was such a permission giving thing to me. For a father who had had college, he himself had done that, had done some seminary, but then was in he was in the marketplace. He's a production engineer. He's a manufacturing engineer these days. And I think, okay, how do I? It was this moment where like, okay, now there's a path for me. I'm on my own path, and it's not what my dad did. And so when we step out as men and do that, that's a scary moment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not just my dad. I love that. Put your hand to the plow, don't look back. We're millennials, right? Like we're old millennials. Yep. We're like on the very
Andy,
oldest end.
So here's the deal. Andy technically is a very, very it would be, what would you be? You'd be a young Gen Xer technically.
Right. Like I was born in 79, so
yeah. So Andy,
oh man, you're right.
Andy doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about anything.
You're in Missouri. You're just like, we're passing through to get to the next generation. You're Indiana.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
so millennials, everybody hates on millennials, and I don't get it personally offended by it. I just think it's silly because every generation makes fun of the younger generation. But
Right.
we millennials do have something we can learn from just that old school put your hand to the plow, or like my dad just saying, well, they yelled at me and they're mad at me and it doesn't feel good, but I'm called to be here, so I'm just going to do it.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
That attitude of the older generations is something that I don't think we need to emulate 100%. There's some really good questions millennials ask, right? But there's something in this backbone of older generations that I hope I can grow into a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
But
So you've done the crazy work of being a youth pastor, obviously, and a preacher, and you're still very much in that preach. I mean, I would say 100%. I've heard you preach it, and have, oh my gosh, loved every bit. And I'll be honest with you, I have your message on the Holy Spirit while we were there. I'm just going to say I've stolen some of this material. I have just said, yeah, I heard what you said, and I was like, one of our associates. He was doing a message on the role of the Holy Spirit within community, and I said Sebastiano, which is his name. Wasn't that great?
that's a great name. That's a strong name.
So really attractive too. And I said, dude, I just heard this message, and before you write anything else, I just need to tell you what I heard. And so we were literally driving between two meetings, he and I just like kind of unlaid it on him, and so Taylor, this is what I want to say, just as encouragement to you. You never know where your words are going to go, right? Like you just never know how far they're going to reach.
Sure, yeah.
He's literally driving along, and he goes, man, this is good stuff. I'm writing this all down when I get back to the office, and it was a significant impact on his message that that he preached to 450 people the following Sunday. So, dude, man, God's using your gift, man.
Thanks.
So I just want to,
and that should be the church, right?
Right.
Like if it's all community and relational, it should be just like, well, you know what my brother told me.
Yeah.
My older brother or my younger brother does it this way and thinks this, and I respect him, and we should just be stealing each other's stuff, and because it's not our stuff. It's God's word.
And if you didn't learn to steal that way, if you're in youth ministry, you've definitely learned to steal other people's stuff. I'm always looking for the smarter youth pastor out there, who's got good stuff.
Right. I probably stole 75% of that sermon.
Beautiful. See, yeah, we actually don't even know where it came from. Right. Really, the original. Yeah, that's good. So, Andy, did you have a question?
No, go ahead,
Taylor.
Go ahead.
So this director of programming for CIY, dude, 8 years. What did that include? What was that like for you?
Yeah. So if you aren't familiar with CIY, even though I'm no longer there, I will sing CIY's praises. It's a really great event for students. I should clarify, CIY is the parent nonprofit organization, and under CIY's umbrella, they have multiple events. So there's a preteen event that happens during the school year. There's a high school event that happens in the summer, a junior high event that happens in the summer. I was the program director for the junior high event, which means the content of that event, the programming, right, of that event. And if you're not in church world, you're like, so what, that's software development? No, if you're in church world, you understand programming is like what happens on stage, what happens in small groups, what happens on the screens. I was the director over that. I led a team of people in developing that content, a team of people that made me look way better than I am. And so we tried to engage for 8 years. We tried to engage 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in any way possible to understand Jesus, understand God's word. Our sessions were an hour and a half. And we just realized you can't just do worship and a sermon. You gotta keep it moving. And so every few minutes, the program changed. There was drama. There were interactive moments. There were games. There were teachers, videos. And I just I got to work for 8 years around some of the most creative people I've ever met, who made me a whole lot better and taught me how to communicate God's word.
And so you made the choice after a while that you were going to do something else.
So, yeah, tell us about that. How did that happen? And tell us what.
Yeah. Okay. So when it starts with starting at CIY. My 20s, like I said, I kind of lived selfishly for a little bit. I floated. I tried some things. When I moved to Joplin, it was a God thing, and I decided I'm going to be here at least 7 years. I'm not gonna. And that just helped me not look for the next best thing or not the greener pasture. 7 years is enough time to get disillusioned, right? So I said 7 years, no matter what. And so when 7 years hit, I just started praying. And my wife and I, we prayed for a year. And there were times in that year where I really thought, oh, I'm staying at CIY. I think I may die at my desk. And then there were times I thought, we're going to become a missionary. We're going to start a church. And then I don't know if you all read any Henri Nouwen. In the Name of Jesus is a book that he's written.
Good old Nouwen.
For your listeners, read that book.
We'll put that in the show notes. We're going to put it in the show notes. Yeah.
Good lands. It's like I read it in a night. It's super, and I'm not a fast reader. But he talks about what true leadership is. And if you don't know Nouwen, he was like in academia. He was the guy, right? Like upward movement in a career. And then he left it all to become a priest at a home for people with special needs, and gave up all the trappings of what he had earned. So in that, I read that book one night and just got punched in the gut and realized God is talking to me about my family. I always think too big, and sometimes that's a strength, sometimes it's a weakness, right? But I can talk to you a little bit about my wife's journey in this too, but to condense this part of it is my wife has a passion to work. I can talk more about that if you want to, but
sure.
She was a great stay-at-home mom. She had a passion to work. I realized, like, how could I serve her? What if she worked? What if I stayed home with the girls? And then could I still do a little bit of what I'm good at? Could I still travel and speak? But that honestly be more the side gig, and I'd be a stay-at-home dad. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing kind of a stay-at-home dad thing, and then traveling and speaking about 90 days a year, which there's significance to that number too. But and then my wife is working, and she's happy, and I'm potty training girls.
Respect.
So, yeah.
Respect.
So yeah, I made that decision and stepped away, and it was scary. But
when did that transition happen? How far are you out from that?
Yeah, so August, the end of August was my last day in the office. I told them I was resigning around almost this time last year. Maybe like April or May.
Okay. And
then had my last summer, and then stepped out in August.
Yeah. So
talk to us a little bit. You mentioned the significance of the 90 days. Talk to us about that. What's that? How did you come up with 90 days?
So I say it's significant. It's actually a little bit arbitrary, but it's concrete. So this is what I mean by that.
Okay.
I kind of thought through, okay, well, how much could I charge on average? This is all getting into nuts and bolts, but like, how much could I charge on average for a speaking event? How many days is the average speaking event? Let's say it's a youth retreat weekend. Usually I'm gone Friday to Sunday. And now I'm suddenly the secondary income. My wife is a realtor, and she's really good at it, and I have a ministry degree. So
preach.
It's pretty fast that I became not the breadwinner. So we landed on 90 days, but that's 90 travel days. That's not 90 speaking engagements. Mm-hmm. That's not 90 paychecks. That is 90 days away from my family. I was traveling 75 days with CIY, so I only increased it 15 to then have the other 200 and however many days. I'm bad at math. Just to be a stay-at-home dad. Yeah. And so 90 days is a bit to travel. It's not the most, right? But it's a bit for some people. Yeah. But that's it. And those are pretty much 90 working days. And then I'm doing the stay-at-home dad thing. And it becomes a challenge to fight for those 90 days because that one more speaking engagement comes in. Oh, it'll be 93 days. Hey, that's close, right? But luckily, my wife and I can talk through that and have some pretty honest conversations with each other and hold each other to that 90-day commitment.
Yeah. So you left, though, this, like, the things that you were doing with CIY. I mean, like you said, it was, I mean, that's a dream job in a lot of ways.
It is. It was.
Yeah.
And it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you said, I'm going to step out into the world of contractor, self-employed, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
How stressful was that?
Pretty stressful. So going back a little bit to the heart of the matter, man, guys, I really do think both parents can work and can do babysitting and be a fantastic family. Like, I think that can work so well. However, my schedule was super weird. CIY, working for a conference is weird. And I traveled a lot all year long. Then my wife started getting into real estate, and that's weird schedules, right? That's evenings and weekends.
Yeah.
My daughter, we have two now, but at the time, my daughter, it was like scurrying to figure out where is she going to survive for the next day, right? Like, we had babysitters, but our schedule was so weird that we were always scrambling to figure out where she's going to go. And it really felt like we were just dumping her places. Right? Yeah. I mean, of course, like safe, right? Child services don't need to come to the house or anything, but
right.
But it just felt like, our family's an afterthought now.
Mm-hmm.
We're oh no, we both just pursued our careers so hard that our family is getting the leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to quit your job to solve that. But for us, that's how it worked. That's how we decided to solve it. And so from then on, there was stress, there was fear. But from then on, like, that's the value. That's what we value. And so I can face fear or stress or chaos if we both know the values we're upholding. And for us, it was, we want a parent to be around our kid and not make her have to scurry every morning to get dressed and go to another person's house. So that was just our value. And it doesn't mean that we're more godly or more spiritual. That was for us and our family. And so, it's crazy, but we're just upholding that value.
And then in the midst of all of this, you adopted a child. So isn't it great, by the way, when people repeat back to you your life choices, like when they say it to you and you hear it, and you're like, yeah, we did do that. That's right. Yeah. So give me the time.
For the first time.
Yeah.
Here on your podcast, I'm realizing what my life has been for the past.
See? Isn't that great? Yeah. So give us the timeline for that, because this is also a reasonably recent occurrence and all of that.
So we started the adoption process well before I was even considering resigning from my job. Mm-hmm. That's a long process, and if anyone knows anything about adoption, it's long and it's tedious, and it's just breeds insecurity and fear. And so our first daughter, she's biological, but we always wanted to adopt a second child, and so that process drug out so long, and we were told no so many times that, hey, there's a mom with a baby coming. Do you want to put your name in the hat? Our agency would ask us, and we'd say yes. And we would be like, look at us. We are awesome. We are the best family. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
And then about 20 times later, we weren't chosen. And it's hard to be like, no, we're still awesome.
Yeah.
You can't help but have some kids.
Right.
So it was just, we were in that holding pattern, and it was just like no adoption in sight. There'd be months that would go by without any bites,
Mm-hmm.
And so we're praying about this job thing, because adoption isn't a reality to us. Guys, my last week in the office on Tuesday, we got a phone call that a mom wanted to meet with us. This is Tuesday before the Friday I end my job.
Oh man.
Yes.
And this has never happened before. Never happened. So we say, yes, of course. So we drive across the transition state, Missouri, to St. Louis, and we meet with this lovely young lady who has had a baby. The baby is in interim care, and we find out she's narrowed it down to us and another family. We drive home. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm sorry. Tuesday we get the phone call. Thursday is when we meet with her. Friday is my last day in the office. Man. On Sunday, before I have started my first real week as a self-employed person, we get the call that she has chosen us. And so on the Monday of my first week as a self-employed person, I'm going to pick up my daughter. Yes. And so I had a fall booked of speaking engagements. My wife was going full-time in real estate, and we were suddenly figuring out, maternity and paternity and crazy stuff. So it's been insane, man.
And Taylor, I have to say, because I obviously, once we met, I obviously had to Facebook stalk you and all of that good stuff. My favorite picture,
of course,
is you. I can barely say it. The first time you see her, when you guys walk in the room, I as a parent, I know that look that it's the best.
Bro.
That's the best thing in the world. Oh,
it is. It'll expand your theology. It'll expand your idea of what it means to be a dad. But the whole other side of the story is we went on vacation too after my last day. We asked our agent, our adoption agent, we said, should we not go on vacation? She said, no, we always tell people, don't change your plans because you may not be chosen. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we fly to Virginia to see my family. So we have to get from Virginia now without a car seat, without baby clothes to St. Louis to pick up our baby.
Yes.
So we're hiring attorneys and changing flights and getting rental cars and everything from Virginia. We get to St. Louis. We take a quick shower at my brother and sister-in-law's house because they live nearby. We go to this office with fluorescent lights and looks very corporate office-y, and a lady comes in and says, hey, I'm sorry guys, I just got to read this paperwork. And she reads legal jargon at us. We sign our names, and then she says, all right, let me see if she's here, meaning my daughter. And then my daughter is carried in. And it's my daughter. What am I doing? And my wife is standing upright and healthy, and we're both looking for the first time at a little girl, and it's bizarre, guys. It's crazy. I don't know how to categorize it in my head.
What's your favorite thing about raising girls right now?
What a great question. So there's some cliche things that are cliche for a reason, right? Because they're wonderful, right? Yeah. I get home and my little girl just yells "daddy" and runs at me and jumps in my arms. I know that sounds like a Hallmark Channel, guys. I totally get it.
But it's so
Andy and I know,
so
here's the thing: our boys are like, hey, what's up?
Barely.
Mm-hmm. Our girls still run to us. Our little I don't know if
sometimes
Reagan some sort, but our little ones, it's the best thing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is the best thing in the world, and it's my favorite thing is also the scariest thing. But it's I love that I am, and I'm terrified that I am setting a standard for her. Yes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. When she is talking, if I'm on my phone while she's talking to me, I've now set a standard for her. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. If I don't laugh when she's trying to be silly, I've now set a standard for her.
Yep.
If I get angry at her real easily, I've set a standard for her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But if I look her in the eye and I ask her to tell me more about that picture she's drawing that makes no sense, or or say like I say, you look so pretty in that dress,
Yep.
or say like, hey, you know what? Even if you're not wearing that dress, you're still pretty. I'm setting standards for her, and it's terrifying and my favorite thing.
That's awesome.
Maybe because I'm a control freak and I want to set those standards, but that's probably my favorite aspect of this whole dad to daughters thing.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah, and it is. It's funny too because I've got 2 boys and 3 girls, and it's just there's something different about the raising the girls. Like, I mean, there's just something completely different.
Yeah, it's.
Oh gosh, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, for me, like, this morning here, it's one of the simple things. The hair. Taylor, have you? You figured out the hair, dude? Because I'm not. I don't know what to do.
I'm getting better at it. I'm not great at it. She tells me a lot, like, ouch, like, you're ripping hair out of my scalp.
Yes.
Yes. I'm getting there though.
Yeah. I couldn't have a daughter with straight hair either. She's got the wavy, curly, and so something has to be done with it, or she looks like she just looks like her parents don't care about her. If
a little bit like Doc from Back to the Future.
Yes,
like that.
that's exactly
Doc Brown hair.
Yes.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, man, Taylor, so you're okay. So, gosh, you're still new. You've made these decisions. You've put some boundaries around. You have dedicated yourself in these ways to your family, which is all beautiful. And yet you're just one of the most. I mean, you're one of the most inspiring speakers that I have heard in my not so illustrious youth ministry career. And so, what is it? What is it about being a professional speaker that like gets you up in the morning?
Yeah. So I love working with students. I love the church. I love preaching to kids who are dealing with issues like anxiety or depression or maybe some abuse. I love seeing them meet Jesus. But I read this. I read George Mueller's biography. I don't know if you are familiar with George Mueller, but he basically started orphanages as we know them were George Mueller in like the 1800s in England, where he was like, hey, their children are mistreated in these factories. And he started orphanages. But he's like, listen, I care about orphans, but that's not really why I'm starting an orphanage. I believe in God, and I want the world to know that God is real, so I'm going to love orphans. Mm. And I love that order of things, right? And what I'm trying to be, and I'm not always this, but what I'm trying to be is enthralled with Jesus. And so I love talking about Jesus and love talking about God. And sometimes that's to students with anxiety and depression. Sometimes that's with really stuffy old people in a church on Sunday morning. Sometimes that's a conference, and sometimes that's like a group of 50 at a campground. And I'm trying to make sure that's the reason I love being a preacher, is like, I want the world to know God's real because I really love God. And by the way, I have a heart for these people.
Right. Yes.
I'm trying to get that George Mueller order of things.
Yes. Yes. So, and my sense of you as being a pretty driven person in a lot of ways, and not in a crazy lunatic unhealthy way, but there's a drive, there's a fire there. What keeps you? I mean, and I've just wondered this is kind of my own like just strange curiosity, is like, what keeps you going? What are the goals in front of you? Because you've put certain boundaries in place where your goal is not, hey, I want to do 260 speaking gigs this year. And how do you go through the goal setting and visioning process for what you want to do? Because it is your show. It's what you want to make. I mean, it's what you want to make it as far as what you're doing and where you're doing it. What does that process and goal setting and all that look like for you?
So if you had asked me this 8 years ago, it would be very different than now. If you'd asked me right out of college, or even in my mid 20s, or even in maybe even in my early 30s, then maybe it would be very different. But God is doing a lot in me right now. Where sorry if I'm rambling to answer your question, Joel, but I got to go here.
This is conversational. I love all of it. It's wonderful.
Okay. Here's where I have to go with this is I spent probably the first 3 decades of my life developing talent. And I wanted to get my talent in front of as many people as possible, right? Like I developed my onstage persona and ability, and the goal was to get that brand out there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now it's only in recent years shifting from that. So you're asking me a question that I can't give you. You said, well, like my process, my whole process has been blown up, man. By Jesus, like, and him saying like, I don't know if I need you to set 10 goals about where you need to be. I think I need you to be faithful right in front of you. And, I need you to not be on your phone when your daughter's playing with Play-Doh in front of you. And then I need you to not put on your preacher voice when you get in front of this room of people. I need you just to be Taylor and testify to my goodness. And so, I think like that is where the vision is right now.
I love everything about that to the core of my being, because we don't need more rock stars. We need more faithful shepherds.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
And I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight if I didn't say, I want to be a rock star.
Yeah,
like
100%.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm saying all this. Taylor really wants to be a rock star. I need to confess that to you guys and your listeners and everybody.
Yes.
But Jesus is just like has his hand around my throat and is beating the tar out of me. It's like Jacob wrestling with God, right?
Yes.
Where he's saying like, you are going to hold on to me, darn it.
Yep.
And that's kind of the phase I'm in.
Yeah, and this is my experience, and I remember, in our stories intersect a lot in this way. When I was young and starting to speak publicly to larger and larger groups of people, it just got larger and larger groups of people, and it was going well, seemingly well, and everybody just wants to cheer you on in that. They see a young person who's got talent and ability, can hold a room, all of that. You'll get pats on the back all day long, and it almost doesn't even matter what's happening in your soul. It
really doesn't.
It does. You could be a complete phony as long as you can get up on that stage and
bring it.
Bring it, right? And
Joel, that is who I was in my 20s. I was a phony, and I was doing some cool stuff, and I was still even doing Christian quote unquote stuff, right? And so maybe that's why I'm at where I'm at now. It is like, I just know how toxic it can all be,
So this is just my what I wonder as we're talking about this. I mean, we've seen a lot of prominent preachers fail in a very public way over the last few years. Do you think the thing we're talking about here now is a contributing factor to that? The celebrity, the celebrity concept, of what is.
So sorry, my screen lagged.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine.
But I am hearing you. The celebrity culture contributing to the moral downfall of these like celebrities. Yeah. So I think it starts before they're celebrities, though. Because Joel, you were getting pats on the back before, you know what I mean? Like,
right. I get it. Right.
Affirmed for your talent before you were a celebrity, and now look at you, you're a massive celebrity.
There are 3 people laughing right now. They're hearing this now. That's how big. Yeah.
So it starts before. I think it's so deceptive that it's not that obvious. I think it goes back to what you were saying about my sermon on the Holy Spirit, which I even cringe saying my sermon on the Holy Spirit. It's not mine. But we are, as a church in America, we are so consumed with models and attraction and numbers and growth patterns and the business of church that we have figured out how to do it without the Holy Spirit. And we're getting a little bit Tower of Babel-ish. And I hope I don't sound doomsday, because I love the American church.
Yes.
And I've been under lights and sound systems, and I have seen mega church fully and well.
Yes.
And I've seen little church. This is not a critique of big church as a blanket statement.
Sure.
This is just as strong of a critique as little churches of 100 people who are just dying to be the big church. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter what size you are. We are so strategized that we can do our jobs without the Holy Spirit doing any work through us, or the Holy Spirit's doing a work through us despite ourselves. Right.
Yeah.
And so the fabric of my being is decaying in sin while I am able to show results as a minister. So I think it starts before you're a celebrity. I think it's about a life pursuing the Holy Spirit, pursuing Jesus and receiving the Holy Spirit.
Yes. Yep. And that's, I just wonder it seems like the more people that you're in front of, and you can avoid a high degree of transformation and a high degree of accountability if you enter into that space of a public persona. And it's incredibly dangerous. And it seems like what I've seen is just like the farther you climb up that ladder, the less likely you are to hear people tell you the truth about who you are or what you're doing.
True. It's true. And let me tell I think we're getting close to the end of our time here, guys. Let me tell you this. I've never told this story before, but I'm going to follow this leading here. I love my wife dearly, love my kids dearly, but I told you all I have a temper. I grew up with it from the day I remember. I've had a temper, and God's helped me with a lot of it, right? Like, but I still have that old that sin, right? So my wife and I, the past year has been a journey of like really digging into our relationship, really leaning in. And man, that sounds nice and sweet until you're doing it. Sure. And then you're like, oh, we're really like learning stuff.
Yep.
But my wife talked about my anger, and she said, you've never been abusive. You've never been anything like that. But I do sometimes wonder and she said this in love. She built up to this. It was a godly moment, but she said, I wonder what people would think about you getting that angry who see you preach on stage.
Yeah.
And that wrecked me, man. Like that is the epitome of what I don't want to be. And so that was a wake up call. And okay, I'm going to lean into Spirit talking to me through my spouse. We're gonna be real. We're gonna really love Jesus and do this thing. So anyway, thanks for letting me ramble at you.
I know you got a good wife. It's a good wife that will tell you your poop stinks, and
that's so good. It's a good thing, man.
Yeah, that's a partnership. That's beautiful. Well, that's awesome.
Podcast once a month to just kind of go through this therapy session.
100%. We have. Well, here's the deal. We have a few. We have a few. What we refer to as our few reoccurring guests. We call our armchair. Our armchair experts. Yeah. And we're gonna add you to the list. And you actually it'll be fun. You'll get to pick what you want to be the expert on. So it's just it doesn't have to be factually based. You just.
I wish I was an expert on something.
You're like, hey, we're gonna bring in our we could just say our expert on all things Joplin, Missouri, and
and you'd be it.
and you'd be it,
yeah.
right? Like
I can do that. I can do that.
That's beautiful. Well, hey, what we like to do here at the end of each show, because we can't let our guests off the hook without really putting them in the hot seat. So now it is time for.
Now it's time for the Dudes and Dads Pop Quiz.
Oh
yes, pop quiz. So these are questions that Taylor has no idea we're asking.
Yep.
And I'm going to go ahead and start, Joel. So you said you're a public speaker, and what's the craziest object that you've used in an object lesson before? Like on stage object, what have you used that's been crazy?
On stage object?
Yes.
I used a tank of water, of oil and water that was, I think it was about 13 gallons, but we did not test it before the first time. And the front panel of this fiberglass tank popped off, and 13 gallons of oil and water went all over the stage and went down onto the floor. And there was a gasp in the audience, and it was not good. It was very bad. And it was all my genius idea. That
Absolutely.
Was totally wrong.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Next up, Taylor. Where did you and your wife go on your first date?
First date was to a restaurant here in Joplin called Krabby's, but it's actually really good seafood. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's great. I was dreading saying the name of the restaurant, but then after that, we were like, let's go on a walk. And we walked Main Street, Joplin. And this is when I realized I really lived in Joplin. There was a semi-truck exhibit show happening up and down Main Street. So this girl that I'm talking to, we walked up and down Main Street looking at semi-trucks, holding hands for the first time ever, looking at semi-trucks.
Wow.
And, I didn't know who I was anymore.
Wow. Yeah, really.
It was weird.
That's awesome.
All right. So if you had your own talk show, who would your first guest be?
Tom Hanks.
All right.
And then he would be my only guest.
Yeah.
I would just talk to Tom Hanks all the time. I love Tom Hanks. So,
favorite. Oh, we haven't mentioned this, but I think I know the answers. But your hobby. What favorite hobby?
yeah. So when you're introing me, you're talking about improv. I love doing improv comedy. Here's what's weird. This nice little Midwest city, Joplin, actually has people show up to improv shows. And so we do these shows here in Joplin that are a ton of fun and make you really uncomfortable and out and scared. And it's fun. I mean, the audience, I don't think is uncomfortable and scared. I am uncomfortable.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. And then I'm getting into cooking. I'm trying, my goal is to be a really good cook in the next couple of years.
So I'm going to follow up. What would you say is your do you have like a go-to star dish that you feel like you've dialed in yet?
I don't know if I've dialed anything in yet, but the last one I made that I was proud of was a flank steak, spinach on top of that, roasted red peppers, Parmesan cheese, rolled that up, tied it with some cooking twine, put that in the oven and let it cook in there with some carrots, butter, and cinnamon. And it was all in just one sheet pan. Came out, and we just devoured it.
I'm
Sounds
feeling
amazing.
it. I'm feeling it. It would, if nothing else, make a solid Instagram photo because when you're tying meat up, like that's next level. You're going places.
It's like I am a cowboy.
That's right.
And tying up this pre-butchered.
I'm a real man. I'm a real man.
I'm using this all natural cooking twine like a champ.
All right. And so my last question is, if you had one extra hour of free time a day, how would you use it?
I would try to start. I would try to write more. I want to write. I want to write fiction, actually, and I would try to write a novel. But that's also assuming that I have an hour of free time and self-discipline.
Right.
You did not say that was part of it.
True.
So that if I was also disciplined, that's what I would do.
Gotcha.
Let's see here. For my final question,
I feel like Andy is really prepared on these. Like, it looks like Andy's reading.
I might be.
Like
He is, because Andy, here's the deal.
making them up.
Yeah. Well, I have a mental list that I revisit. Andy went all out this time, and he's introducing new questions.
I normally do have the same things, and I'm like, I need to do something new this time. So
yeah, Andy is showing me up because he's
It's fun watching you both. Like, the body language is very different on this Zoom.
What am I asking? Yeah, it's a really good observation, by the way. So if you were so you sort of said Tom Hanks. I was gonna say if you were to write a biography on somebody, who would it be?
Man.
And you can't say, we're just going to say no to Jesus, that the Bible's already there. So
I would probably be like in a long list of other, like, everyone would want to do this. This is not that cool, what I'm about to say, but Paul McCartney.
Ooh,
Like,
okay. Yeah.
I know that's like the celebrity, right? But he's my favorite artist of all time. Like, he's like the working man's artist. He just goes in and keeps on writing music till he's in his 70s.
It's beautiful.
I just love him.
right.
I agree.
He's my favorite.
Paul McCartney has been close to my favorite carpool karaoke with James Corden because Paul went and visited all those like historical places that made the Beatles. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And then he does the show in that pub or whatever.
Yes.
And people are bawling their eyes out because they went to have a drink, and then Paul freaking
McCartney shows up
and does a show.
Oh,
it's awesome.
So good.
Oh, that's so good.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor, congratulations. You have successfully completed the Dudes and Dads pop quiz. Well done. Well done. I know it was, you were really, it was a nail biter. It was a nail biter.
Yeah. I want to thank my mom.
Yes. It was beautiful. Beautiful. Hey, Taylor, tell us, because I want everybody just to book the crap out of you for speaking gigs, because I just believe in what you're doing. And I want to support you in whatever way we can. And I should say, here's the deal. I already tried to get Taylor, and he was booked out for our summer conference already. He's past that date, and there was a sadness that came over me. It was
a sadness for me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, that's a guarantee.
Yeah, but it's a testament to the fact that he's got a lot going on. But we do want to know, where can people find you on the interwebs and on the social medias and all that good stuff? Where can we find you?
Sure. Taylor Brown Speaks is everything. So TaylorBrownSpeaks.com, or you can follow me on Instagram if you want to see pictures of me just being a dad. It's my Instagram.
Yep. Yes.
I don't know if you saw that interesting, but there I am. And then the website, Taylor Brown Speaks, has YouTube videos, and if you go to like the contact form submission, that actually goes to me. It's not like some college kid that I'm paying that goes on to my phone.
Brock.
Because I'm
Brock.
It goes to Brandon.
I don't know why every college student, like, bro, is Brock to me. That's the name that I have picked. Or Blake. It's Brock or Blake. Blake. But yes, it goes to you.
I got Keith over there answering questions. So it'll come straight to my phone, and I'd love to talk to you.
Beautiful. Well, awesome. one way or the other, Taylor, I'm committed to having you. You're gonna do something for me at some time. I'm gonna put some leaders in front of you and have you preach to them, because, man, we've just we appreciate you more than we can even fully express, and we're just I feel like the Lord has brought us together, my friend. It's been a good thing.
What everybody doesn't realize is you and I stayed up till 1:30.
That's right. We had a literal fireside chat.
Well, I
like your spirits here.
Yeah.
And I was responsible with the youth and went to bed.
Yeah,
I'm old though too. So
yeah. Andy was being the responsible one.
Actually, like actually pastoring people.
That's right. That's right.
Or sleeping.
Yeah.
I've been sleeping.
Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, let's go up to the lodge and talk until the wee hours of the morning. And man, I look forward to future conversations like that 100%. So Taylor, you've just been a joy. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks, man. And let's we'll do this again for sure. So
Man, thank you guys. Love what you guys are doing. This is good stuff. Listened to some of your past episodes and was excited to hear what was brewing this week. And
yes,
you are awesome.
And now you'll have the opportunity when this releases to do the thing that makes Andy and I terribly uncomfortable, is to hear our own voices.
Probably won't listen to it.
Yeah, probably just gonna tuck that away.
Probably repost it.
And never listen. Okay. Well, hey, brother, love you so much. Thank you, and thank your family for letting you have some time with us.
Thank you, guys.
Peace.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight, listening to the Dudes and Dads podcast. If you've got feedback about this episode, send us an email, dudesanddadspodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on our voicemail line at 574-213-8702. Make sure, Joel, that you like and subscribe everything we do on all socials.
All the things.
Everything.
We're on all the platforms, so get out there, like and share. That's how you can help us get out to other people. And until next time, friends, grace and peace.